So now that we know how to put together some nice looking plots, how do we use them in papers and reports and on websites and so on? Um, well, it's actually pretty easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and let's start with, let's do this polling data. Um, so I'm going to grab the data from 538 again, and then I have a couple of cleanup steps. And make sure that everything's run. So there's my scatter plot. And let's say I want to save this and use it in a report. So this plot here, this plot.figure call, that returns a figure object, and I can save that. So I can say figure equals plot.figure, and then I go ahead and add my plotting commands to it. And then afterwards I can say figure.savefig and give it a name. So like this will be polls.png. And then it automatically figures out the file type based on this extension you supply. So PNG is portable network graphic, which is a relatively high quality indexed image type, basically similar to GIF, but more open sourcey. You can save as PDF or SVG scalable vector graphics, which is particularly good for printed publications because it keeps track of the artwork in vector format and will scale it without getting jaggies. PNG is raster format, so it doesn't scale particularly well, but it's efficient for web pages. So let's actually save it in both formats. So figure.savefig polls.svg as well. And then I'm just going to execute the cell again. And you'll see it automatically added 2 new files to this folder here. So let's double click to open that. So here's my PNG file, and it is just a file. So let's go to my users notebook folder, see users, mark notebooks, import. So here's the folder we were just at, and there's a PNG file in it. I can open it in Paint. I can copy and paste it into a Word document. I can do everything you'd expect. Let's go ahead and open it with Paint, and we'll zoom in. So I'm going to open it with Paint and then zoom in, and you'll see it's raster image, so it doesn't scale particularly well. It's anti-aliased, so it's not terrible. But if I open this SVG file, actually, let me just double click it and open it in Chrome. And then I'm going to start zooming in on this thing here. So no matter how much I zoom in, it's actually saved this as geometric objects and character outlines and lines and curves, and so it will scale arbitrarily. Chrome's only letting me go 500%, but it would continue if I scaled them even more. So this is really perfect for embedding on a paper that you intend to be printed, because if you're printing it to a 600 dpi printer, you'll still be able to take advantage of the high resolution. So SVG is good for printed separate graphics. If you're using a package like Adobe, which is useful for editing portable document format PDF files. Might be more convenient for you to work with PDF format, which will also use scalable vector graphics there as well. And pretty straightforward. So that was for a matplotlib figure. If I'm using, let's say, just a regular, the pull method on matplotlib, so let me go back to, yeah, so let me just go to here. So here's a plot that's just using the plot method on matplotlib, and I need to reload the data, so so connect to the database, read some data, and then pivot the data and plot the data. So here's a plot. This method will plot the data, but will also return an object. So let's go ahead and set G equal to that and then display G. So this is an axis object, just like what I was looping through using Seaborn. And I can get the figure that this axis object is attached to using the figure property. So this is going to return a figure object, which gets displayed as a figure. But it also has access to the savefig method. And let's call this names.svg and execute it. And should have given me a names.svg file. Oh, there it is. It just took a while to update. So let's go ahead and double click on that. And once again, I can scale in and it will scale nicely. So that's a regular plot method. You just have to make sure you save the result of calling plot. And then for Seaborn, it's basically the same process. So, so here's the Seaborn plot. And I can save the whole thing, G equals that, and then display G, which is an axis grid facet grid. But I can get the figure off of that and then call save fig on the figure. And we'll call this from seaborn.png. And I'm not going to wait for that to update. I'll just jump over here. And here's my from seaborn.png. And it's a ping, so by default it opens in a Windows photo viewer.